So today's topic, we're going to talk about mathematics. After all, we're going to do math questions. So first, there's a little bit of a change in your programs there, right? So we have another Matt. This is the Matt panel. Now we were going to have Matt Damon on the panel, but instead we have Matt Fitzgerald from HelloFresh. Welcome.
I often pinch hit for Matt Damon, so.
Okay, so today's topic is on personalization online and offline. So let's sort of start with, I think, a broad question, if I can hear all of your thoughts on it, which is, are the expectations of offline and online personalization changing? What do you guys think about that? Do you think the expectations are changing for the experience?
I think what's interesting, and especially because this is now my fourth kind of marketing summit I've been to in about 2 months now, is the interest in offline and how personalization is something that has to be added to that where it might not have been before, or it was hyper-personalized. But digital, realizing that that method of marketing is not really that old, and that one of the main draws to it was personalization, trackable personalization. That has now become very cluttered and loud. And I think what's happening is you're looking for other methods, not necessarily as a substitute, but as something you add to your digital means. And finding personalization in that is as important because you're not looking to take a step back with offline, you're looking to do something stronger than what you're doing currently with digital.
Right, and we have 3 very strong consumer brands, so we want to hear your expectations.
Well, absolutely. I think, especially on the digital side, you have consumers who are used to going to places like Amazon and Netflix and seeing content that's super relevant to them, and they come to your site and they see something that's, how long will their attention span last if they don't have relevant content put in front of them? You lose the customer in a second, right? So absolutely, the pressure is on, not just because of, I work in the hotel industry, so it's not just because of our competitors, but also because of other digital, how the landscape is right now. So there's no option but to have personalization on your content or on your site.
Yeah, I think the expectation has never been higher. Will only accelerate faster. We are a food brand. Nothing's more personalized than dietary restrictions, lifestyle factors, picky eaters at home. If we're not able to give you the exact meal you want at the exact moment you want, you really won't become a customer for the long term. So I see only one outcome here, and it's getting faster.
Of course, going last, it'll just be a field of platitudes if I just repeat things. My perspective, I guess, is it's hard to find. I'm at Best Buy. It's hard to find an example that isn't already the marriage of online and offline. The Hilton examples, Uber, almost any example that is of significance in your life, other than, let's say, just gaming, or just find something that is entirely just digital, and it's actually hard to come up with one. So almost any app that you have that you use regularly is a blend of those kinds of things, and so it's very exciting to think about how we can innovate around marrying the physical and the digital, and blending personalization into that so that it's contextually suitable.
It's interesting. You find this has become a fundamental part of your company, like it's part of your strategy. So what have you done within your companies in terms of hiring procedures, electronics, automation, all sorts of things to actually improve your ability to personalize like that, either offline or online?
Sure. So one of the big investments that we made was, at least on the Starbucks side, is we worked with a third-party vendor to create our own algorithm-based engine for personalization. So we decided that our needs are so unique to not just our industry but our brand and company, that we wanted to build our own personalized offer engine for our program. And it's been great because we've been able to fine tune it. That's okay. Sorry, can everyone hear me now? No? So we've been able to fine tune, like as I was saying, our personalization program, which we're still enhancing with every new release that we have. And that's one of the investment in technology that we made for our platform. And this platform can be plugged into not just digital, but like for, let's say, customer service centers, any touch points that where we have interaction with our customers pre-stay or post-stay or during stay.
We actually, I think my mic is okay. We hired. We actually put a stake in the ground and said we're going to have a strong leader in that role and build out a team and then the technical resources to do it. We're in the early, really exploratory days of really understanding it and building out the right engine for us, but without that org decision, I don't think it would happen. So we'll see what's built from there, but that really was the critical juncture for us.
What are you calling the position, by the way?
I think it is Director of Personalization, I think is the actual title. We're very literal when it comes to naming things.
So
and
you
that
have like
would
an
be
acronym, like you could be a dope or something.
Let's hope not.
Right.
Yeah. So in terms of personalization is in my title, but I sort of laugh at the idea because it's everybody's job. It's like saying that someone's job is mobile to some degree, but I run media and social and some those kinds of things. So including the technology. So they hung it on me. The reality is that just as another example of personalization, marrying online and offline, Best Buy isn't the only retailer that's experiencing massive amounts of buy online, pick up in store, and that's that maybe you do that for a TV or you do that for some headphones or something else, a gift that you ordered from the office. But it's happening everywhere. Even if I have a Nordstrom near my house, and I never shop there, but I use them basically as the place where I go and return, when I need to. So it's like buy online, return in store for me when it's with Nordstrom. So there are examples all over the place of being able to marry the two.
Does that happen a lot in your store? Buy online and return in store? In store?
Return in store?
Yeah.
Not as much as buy online and pick up in store.
Sorry, yeah.
So which is nearly 50% of some categories.
Wow.
Is buy online, pick up in store.
Fascinating.
For us, we're probably a little unique for this. If anybody has seen our stand right there, we're right outside this room. We are a robotics company that would not exist without personalization technology. Our product is a method of allowing consumers and businesses to write either one at a time or in very large scale with personalization. So what we do in terms of digitizing someone's handwriting, so that becomes a very unique program that we can use. So a CEO, for example, can write 10,000 notes to people, is personalized in that way that it's his or her handwriting, but also using technology and stuff that's as simple as mail merge fields to create a message copy that speaks to the person and is calling them out by name, is calling it out an interaction that you had with that company, whether positive or negative, and that feeling of someone sat down from this company and took time to learn about me. I think that's the personalization we're trying to focus on, is we want to give our clients the ability to connect with their customers in a very thoughtful way. And technology is making it very easy to take large sums of data but still create a very bespoke experience for people.
Right, and that really sort of leads to a good transition into talking about, let's talk about some case studies. Like how has personalization offline really benefited? So do we have some things that we want to share in that way? Like how has it helped? What have customers seen?
I have a good one with this one that just finished. We do a lot of work with universities, both on the academic and athletic side. And we were working with the University of Florida, who was getting to the end of their timing to get season ticket renewals. And they had a group of people that had expressed that they wouldn't be renewing. And we worked with them and digitized the handwriting of Jim McElwain, the football coach. And we made a stationery that had an image of him with a message to these people saying, we would love to have you back for the Gator season. And these people that had already said no, they ended up selling $110,000 in extra seating because they made an effort. And I think that, personalization is important to remember. At least what we believe is you're trying to invoke the fact that you are appreciative of your consumers, that you have gratitude for the fact that they are spending their money with you. And when you do that, when you show appreciation, it really does get reciprocated.
Right, but it's even one step more than appreciation, right? Because it makes them feel like they count.
Exactly.
Right, that's really, it's not just in a class of
you,
people that spend money. Right?
When you wanted to make a personal outreach to me versus part of a mass mailing, and I think that's the big thing we're seeing versus digital. Consumers of any age demographic are becoming smarter and more trained to understand, whether online or offline, that they're part of a mass mailer. And when they feel like something is unique to them, it really creates a much different experience.
How about any of you, some examples or how you've seen personalization offline or even online actually increase sales, or specific examples?
So for us, it really is how we curate the meals each week for our customers. So the offline bit is actually quite complicated, given that we have to kind of pack the boxes every week, distribute them across the country, and deliver them home. So there's an operational complexity that minimizes the inbox personalization, though we are working on that. But if we're up front in your kind of meal selection every week, able to guide you through that process based off of your order history, your dietary preferences, your taste profile, we might be able to find insights into what you like and then suggest, well, it's this chicken dish, not that chicken dish, and that will actually have a material impact. And we see that through improved recipe scores every week. And the example I always love to give, we might have chicken breast on the menu and chicken thigh. And that is the difference between a successful meal and a disastrous meal. You might love chicken breast but hate chicken thigh. And so we're able to figure that out and serve up the right meals to you as you're making that meal choice. And that is incredibly relevant to the customer.
Just sort of to follow up with that, so that's a very interesting thing. So nowhere there were a bunch of programmers that sitting would say, aha, it's going to be a thigh and breast discussion. So how do you actually learn this along the way?
To start, there's a lot of trial and error, to be honest. It was, creating the menus, sending them out, and collecting that feedback. So having a very strong feedback loop. Now, that's with the kind of the deliciousness of the recipe every week, or how successful the home cook was. You can see it up front in who's clicking on what meals and who's opting in and out of certain meal configurations. But it was, until this point, building up that data pool so that we could start to make those insights. But it really started with trial and error.
Interesting.
So, I have literally 100 examples, but I'm just going to provide one simple
maybe
one.
Maybe two good ones. Okay.
One simple one. So, for example, last year we had a limited time offer where the messaging was you book and you get bonus star points within a certain time period. And what we did was the copy was the same for this message that we ran on our desktop, but we changed the background image for segments of audience that we thought were spa enthusiasts. So we had a spa lifestyle imagery, and then we had for example, golf enthusiasts, so we had a golf imagery. If we had a business travel versus leisure travel, so we have all these segments that we thought were the highest converting ones, and we created the same message but with different imagery. And we did see a huge lift, from not just from someone who's clicking to because it captures their interest because it's relevant, but it's the imagery. It's not it's not the copy. It's not the message. It's just the imagery. Not only did we saw high click through, but we actually did end up seeing a lift in bookings as well. So it's just a matter of capturing the interest based on, and we used offline data for that. We use the data we get from past booking behavior on what our members did when they were staying at our properties to create those audience groups. And that's, it was a successful campaign for us.
Interesting question for you in particular, because obviously you just had a big merger,
Yes.
between your two of the largest, what hospitality, right? Is that the right word? Hotel?
Yes.
Okay. And so did you share data? Do you share data? Have you done that?
Yes, we just, so we are going through the integration work right now, and our teams are merging together. We're pulling together platforms and teams and best practices. And it's been an eye-opening experience because Marriott has a personalization team and we have a personalization team, and we're one team now with the very best practices that we've learned and competed with each other all these years. And now we can do it together. So yes, there is a great deal of learning that we have exchanged
Right,
already.
that has to be like a crazy amount of data that you've been able to, bring over. Yeah.
Absolutely. And learnings.
And learning, right.
Yeah.
I guess a couple of real quick examples would be we use our first-party data, and when we need to, second and third-party data, but we have a huge database, and we call it Athena. It's been called that in our earnings calls, but basically it's where we build our audiences, and we work with many of our vendors to allow them to leverage those audiences to reach people on our own platforms, the website, our email, and so on, as well as through paid media. But if there's a new product launch, if it's gaming or phone or whatever, sometimes there are events at our stores, and so we'll use. I mean, these are not rocket science kinds of applications, but they're important when you're in that audience and you want to be one of the first ones to play a game, buy a game, place a pre-order, or things like that. So that's generally what we do. I guess when you click out of it, for us, a huge, I can't give the number, but a huge percentage of our traffic is actually online versus in store. So, for decades it was all about store traffic, and like all retailers, we've had to find a new water level there. But the aggregate traffic in total, especially if you start counting using other KPIs, but just the basic traffic data, it's higher, and it's just more significantly online for us. And so whether it's someone buying online and picking up in store, or shopping online and buying in store, or it's just the traffic is so fluid.
So if you had I'll ask the same vendor question of you two. I guess it doesn't apply so much to you. Have you find the vendors help you with personalization? Your vendors?
Yes. You mean our
suppliers, even.
Oh.
Suppliers of, you would certainly
Yeah.
have that in your business, right? Where they do? Where they come to you, and it's more than just centered around trying to sell you more things, where they say, hey, we can help you with what your customers prefer, like even a chicken vendor, to use your example.
Well, we get a lot of, I would say, data management agencies that come forward. The founding of the business put kind of data and analytics really at the heart of what we do, and there's a real strong bias to do it internally, so to really hire into those roles. So I don't think we've found an external partner yet that would be kind of a replacement for that. We certainly get pitched a lot in that. It does feel like it's a developing field that has relevance, but I think we're really trying to do it ourselves. I still think in ad tech and the marketing technology suite, there's still some external vendors that are highly relevant to our needs, but in terms of building that internal engine for personalization, I think we have to do that work ourselves.
Same.
I think it might be a revenue stream for you, because you could provide the data back to the vendors, maybe. I get a commission if you guys use it. Okay.
Well, long term, if we look at who our real vendors are, a chicken farmer or something like that. Not maybe the most sophisticated tech guys, so we'll see.
What role do you think, if you're not doing it already, artificial intelligence is going to play in personalization going forward, and do you have programs actually in place to do this?
I think it'll have a big role in the whole customer journey, including customer care. You can't, to meet the needs of customers, and I said it in an earlier session today, my personal belief is that customers will share almost an infinite amount of information with you as long as they don't have to re-identify themselves in context. Yeah. Because to re-identify yourself in context is obnoxious. If someone makes you constantly re-identify yourself, that's aggravating, to say the least. So to meet customers' needs, you're going to need to scale your personalization in a way that's not going to scale with your revenue or your profitability. So you're going to have to become more efficient. AI can help with that. You're going to have to become more simple. AI can help with that. Texting is just easier and faster in so many contexts in your personal and professional life. So it's just compounding itself. So AI is going to be super important.
I can't speak to the exact direction of but definitely there has been internal conversations, not just from personalization team, different marketing teams, our analytics team, and the idea is that like AI will be the solution for us in the future, where all these teams come together to show a cohesive messaging to our customers across the customer journey, from pre-stay to booking to stay and post-stay. So this unification model that we are slowly moving towards will be based on AI.
And I assume similar.
Yeah, I can only kind of validate its role in the experience, but yeah, I think absolutely critical and inevitable.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm guessing that if we come back again and we ask this question in a year or two, right, it's going to be really dramatically different than the question now.
Yeah, I mean, it's our company again doesn't exist without robotics and AI. So for us, and we are a robotics and tech company that every day is fighting to ensure people don't know we use robotics. So we have an interesting relationship with AI where we physically couldn't create our product without it. But the idea is to use that kind of technology to create an authentic product. So for us, it will be about making robots smarter. It will be about having self-service platforms where right now we have account managers that are overseeing a lot of things, but it's absolutely crucial in terms of whether it's just producing a product or understanding patterns of how your customers use your product. We couldn't exist without it.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift a little to offline, right? Because some of you have really offline presence. So how do you use offline information or offline experience to tailor the online personalization experience?
So for us, offline experience is extremely relevant because it's the data we get from the hotel stay of the customer, and that's your past booking behavior, the best predictor of your future behavior is your past, right? So for us, the way we have initially created segments of audience is based on our first-party data, which is all based on members' past booking history. So if you're, especially for a company like Starwood or Marriott, which has a wide range of offerings, it's really important for us to know if the person who's coming to our site is a business traveler or a leisure traveler. Do they like high-end hotels like St. Regis, or do they like, something like Westin or a specialty brand like 4 Points or Loft? What are their needs? So, and those data points come from offline experiences, right? So what have they stayed? Where have they stayed? How many times a year do they stay? When do they stay? Are they booking mostly in Asia? Are they booking mostly here? So these are the kind of data points that we need right away for us to even start personalization. Like for travel industry, I think it's not just yes, you're like, don't get me wrong, like real time data does show intent, but the richest data that you can get is from offline for us.
How about you in your stores?
What was your...
The question is, are you using offline experience, in the store to actually change your online personalization or modify it or...
it's hard for me to distill them into separate parts because let's go back to, I've been at Best Buy for almost 14 years. So I was there when we were the poster child of showrooming. And all the consumer and investor press took our stock down to 11. I'm glad I'm still there. But it was a lot of it was just sort of mythology that you had to understand what was cyclical and systemic and deal with that, and how much of it was just people misunderstanding people. When you fast forward to today, of course there's showrooming, and we want to learn from how people shop for electronics, whether it's something they're buying their 5th laptop, or they're buying another Mac or another iPad or whatever, and they don't need help, and they're going to go to a store and buy online. They're in store and they're showrooming and they're buying from us. We have to cover table stakes and make sure that we have good prices and good service and that kind of thing. That's a blended experience. Does that make sense? So it's hard for me. It's hard for me to honestly distill them into two. And we've already mentioned that a huge amount of our in-store traffic is from people shopping online and picking up in store. So it's hard really to separate the two, and they're constantly reinforcing and learning from each other.
Yeah, and I also had that. So I ran an electronics store myself, and I didn't notice a lot of correlation, let's say, between the in-store behavior and the online behavior, because I think the online behavior is a wider geographic, and it's sort of different than what people do in person. There's some overlap.
Well, let me give you I can't give you the actual numbers, but our app traffic, and our app is not a super popular app. It's actually highly useful if you're in our loyalty program, because you can, by the time you walk from the store to the checkout, you can unlock points and check out. It's super useful if you're a heavy user, but I'm not a good sample size of that. The reality is that our app traffic is a substantial percentage of our store traffic. And the more we learn about the simultaneous use of our app while someone's in store and things like that just reinforces the idea, and that's our app. That's not even looking at our mobile web. There's just a huge amount of blended activity.
And do you do any sort of analysis of in-store shopping and apply that online? Like, do you actually actively do it?
I think we draw inspiration from in-store, trends. Are people migrating online off? We'll do some mystery shopping ourselves. I think that's what's important. We still have a funny category because like 5% of total grocery purchases come from online, and it's still 95% offline. There was a very, very recent survey in the last couple of weeks that said something like 84% of customers still prefer brick and mortar. So there seems to be a reluctance to migrate online in a very significant quantity, though it does appear that it's coming. Amazon bought Whole Foods, for example, but I think it's going to be this interplay between the two. And are there going to be certain categories that are more suitable for online and more categories that are suitable for in-store? And then how do you kind of manage that back and forth experience? Interesting in a fresh perishable category.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's really the issue that you're facing.
Matt, I'm wondering if we have the two questions from the audience, since we're down to about 5 minutes.
Let me just get one more I'm going to do, and then I'll do the
sure.
two questions. So this is one of my favorite questions in personalization, and this is the creepy versus personal. And the question I'm going to pose to all of you is, when does it become too personal that it becomes creepy? And an example, like let's say I'm staying in a Starwood property, and then I get an email from them, and they say, we noticed that you ran out of socks when you were here, so next time we're going to give you, access to the laundry. And I'm like, how did they know I ran out of socks? So I would consider that maybe a little bit creepy. But where is the line? Like, do you consider this, and where you draw the line?
The hardest part is that this line will be different for everyone, right?
Right.
Your threshold might be a lot higher than mine, or lower than mine. So it's very difficult, and that's the problem that we face on a daily basis. And I think as a marketer, or someone working in personalization, that's the biggest challenge: is how do you encroach on someone's personal behavior and say, hey, I know about this, this about you. It's your birthday's coming up, and we noticed you were taking a look at this, but you didn't book. So do you want to come back? Or even, like we were talking earlier, we use a lot of data from offline experience. So for example, if one of our member we notice that, that person's been going, using the spa during their hotel stays, we term them as a spa enthusiast. And the user or the member may not feel comfortable knowing that their behavior during a hotel stay is being tracked, right? Like they think offline experience is actually offline. They're enjoying the spa on their alone time, and then they get an email boom from us saying, hey, we noticed you enjoyed these spas, and here's 10 other top spas in our different hotels. So how do you strike that balance? It's very hard. There's no right or wrong answer.
I think as long as you keep away from their movie preference, you're probably going to be okay.
Well, and it's frequency for sure, right? I mean,
Right.
like there's a difference between identifying something that might be interesting to someone and giving them an offer, and preferably not doing it 5 seconds after you swiped their credit card. And then there's something where you get a thank you every time you buy an article of clothing from that store or retailer. So the idea of segmenting consumers is very important, and tailoring your message is very important, and also knowing the right time to strike with a message that can mean something versus I'm getting tired that they're just looking into my behavior all the time and trying to capitalize on that through extra marketing.
I mean, if you ping me every time I walk by a cross-sell, upsell opportunity through the lobby, I probably won't want to stay here.
Right, that's right. It gets sort of crosses the line, right? But in electronics, sometimes suggesting additional products or things like that, that works, I think, right?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's back to the context, and so I agree. It's the person, it's the context for sure. Whether it's apparel or whether it's electronics, recommendation engines and things like that that are more mass-oriented, personalization all the way down to highly personalized with PII. All those things just have to be used. If there's utility, then and that's where the innovation, I think, is. There's so much innovation that has yet to be born in this space. And if there's utility, then people will. It will not only not be obnoxious for someone to have to re-identify themselves, but it'll be sort of like it'll engender loyalty and brand love and those kinds of things because it's just so awesome. Because no one's experienced it. I think it's even true in basic stuff like retargeting. Even with all the talk on bots, ad blockers and things like that, sure, it's out there. But imagine surfing the web and imagine your profile and you're getting a bunch of irrelevant ads. It would feel like we'd gone back to, it would be so weird and even obnoxious. Right. So even though, I get retargeted multiple times from Amazon and Nordstrom, but I'd rather, I'd rather see that than
something relevant to you versus
completely irrelevant. You could name absurd things, but it's still beneficial.
Yeah. And just to add to that about your question on what's creepy and what's not, I think it's really important to do testing on a small audience to see how they react first before you do a mass failure with a large campaign.
Right. That's actually that's a good point to make sure not to launch things, site-wide. I think that actually leads into a really good question that we have from the audience from Eric, which are, what are some of the examples that your competitors are doing that in personalization that made you change or adjust your strategy, right? So maybe you see something they've done wrong or right or so on. Are we looking at our competitors?
I mean, I can definitely speak to this. This is for a company that's hitting their third year. This is something that we are running into daily with a new competitor that's popping up. And what it has forced us to look at is that many times, like many people I'm sure are familiar, if you do have a good product and you feel confident in your product, people will try to undercut you by price. It's a very quick strategy that people are trying to do to gain momentum for their own company. Luckily for us, it sometimes gives you an inferior product. So for someone that uses Real Ink, we see people that use a printer and scan it. And what happened is we realized people were trying to attack us on rate. They were trying to make something cheaper, and it forced us to look at authenticity of our product and make sure that we're putting out the best version of it and not be afraid to charge a little bit more because of the results your clients get. But I think the idea that we have a product that supplies personalization means everybody that will compete with us will have that same thing. And you have to start focusing on what you want to be the focal point of your product. And for us, it's something that looks genuine and that doesn't look like it's robotic. But it really has forced us, and in a very short amount of time, to look at what others are offering and if that's really hitting at our product, or if they're just trying to cut us at the knees because they have a cheaper product that's not necessarily more effective.
So just one short example is about a year and a half ago, and I'm not going to name which brand of hotels, but there was suddenly, if you were going to all the top hotel websites, you were seeing a lot of messaging about member benefits, right? So one hotel company started, the others followed suit. It was suddenly you just realize that we need to tell our members what exactly is the benefit of being a member. So free Wi-Fi, 5% off, free breakfast. What are the messaging? And suddenly it was surfacing everywhere, and it was a really fun time because it just shows how much we're looking at each other's sites even every day to know what's going on. It's very easy to lose people to your competitors in this day and age. But that is an example of how it stepped us up in our personalization program as well.
Any other thoughts on competitors? No, they don't want to ask. How are we doing on time? We have time for another one there?
I think we can take one more if you had.
We can take one more. I've got a couple here. Let's see what we want to do. Okay, so this is a really interesting, I'm going to change the question, it came from Anonymous, so I'm going to change it a little bit. It's talking about returns. So this to me is really a question about customer dissatisfaction. So what do we use for personalization when a customer is dissatisfied? They have to return something. How do you make that a touch point, and how do you turn that into a positive experience within the personalization concept?
We actually worked with, so it's someone that I have to keep anonymous because they're using our service to show that they're handwriting notes to their clients. But unlike most people where we were doing thank yous, they came to us saying that they have a monthly list of people that they're getting, bad customer service experience, they got the wrong product fulfilled, a lot of this through NPS score and things like that, and they want to write an amends note to these people versus a thank you, and they want to offer a code to bring them back. That's certainly something that you're seeing to make up for returns. If returns are something you can't fight. It's going to be a part of doing business, especially in retail. But what do you do with that customer who's returning it? And beyond just finding out the reason, are you going to give them a reason to stay with you? And it's something that's been very successful.
Right, but it's also personalization too, right? Because you want to give them, this is one of the frustrating points
How did you know I had to return something?
No, but it's even more than that. So when I return something or I'm unsatisfied with a room experience, I don't want something that I don't want. So how do you know what I want to make that good? That's really, I guess, the question. Like, are we working towards that?
Maybe AI will help.
Right, maybe artificial intelligence or something.
I think of consumer electronics as being like a joke central of like, well, it was the user error.
It was user, right.
or whatever, or even the manufacturer error. But I'm more interested in what HelloFresh. Well,
we really kind of suck as a cook. Well, it's true, actually. That is a challenge, And we also can't accept returns. You can't send the chicken back. So,
so what do you do?
Yeah, so it's a very fine balance, and we actually, we have a very sophisticated platform that allows us to track the interactions with all of our customers. And actually, when we do it well, the customers that form a relationship with our customer care actually have the best lifetimes.
Yes.
So we do get into a good routine. Doesn't always go well, and I think your idea is an interesting one. Is what is the right solution for someone who has a hiccup with our service? We're probably not there yet, but that's probably where we need to go to make it right. Because
you don't want to send them, a certificate for free chicken if they're a vegetarian too, right?
You can mix that up. Maybe they maybe they just wanted a credit in their account. So we need to get a lot smarter with that. But yeah, we're always in a very fragile position when it comes to this kind of customer care, make it right scenario because of our model.
Right, and I appreciate your comment about the electronics business. You sell somebody a $3,000 Canon camera and then they tell you the camera doesn't take good pictures.
Yeah.
Someone won a Pulitzer Prize with it. So.
And the reality is, we spend customer care, whether it's a return or especially with social media, which is one of the things that's on my team, you have to take it so seriously, and you invest a tremendous amount of resources of all flavors on this. People, technology, systems, you can't invest enough, and AI is good. It's what we were talking about earlier. Your personalization will help, AI will help. And it can blow up very quickly in social media, so the handoffs between the social team and our customer care team have to be super slick, and we don't always get it right. It's maybe the most fragile of your engagements.
When the customer's most vulnerable, for sure. Okay. Thank you. Thanks to our panel, everybody.
Nice round of applause. Thank you very much.
Great.